is a really interesting concept. In the digital world in which we live, there are lots of currencies that are not cash. Aspiration is a currency. Facebook makes a market in it. Intention is a currency. Google makes a market in it. You don't intend to go to Google, you intend to go somewhere else. And they translate that currency into cash. Netflix does that with your passion. Amazon does it with your consumption. Cryptocurrencies do that with your trust, that they are in fact valuable.
Money, since the beginning and in all the forms that we see it around the world today, is fundamentally about trust, but about different kinds of trust. For certain kinds of objects that function as money, really the kind of trust at issue is interpersonal trust. The thing with money is it's never just paper, right? It's always got that institutional authority behind it. It's always got those interpersonal relationships behind it that, in a sense, subtend its power, its economic power, its political power, and its heft in our society.
What's interesting is, historically, we've had to rely on third-party institutions to do that for us. So government agencies or financial institutions or large corporations that will kind of manage the integrity, the trust, the transaction itself. And in a way, we've shifted that, so the protocol of blockchain is moving it from a third party into the underlying protocol, the underlying technology that's doing that for us. We call it the trust economy because behind the blockchain, it lets us do three things in a really interesting way. First is recordation, the second is value exchange, and the third is smart contracts. So for record.
The superpower of blockchain is the permanent nature of it, this notion of immutability, and the ability to have parties that do not trust each other all mathematically agree on some result or outcome.
Let's say you and some buddies are getting together for a poker night. And your buddy was supposed to bring a set of poker chips, but he forgot them. To get together with the guys doesn't happen often, so you're not going to cancel the game. Everybody takes out a sheet of paper and you say, listen, we're going to assign poker chips, and every hand that we play, you're going to record it on your sheet of paper. And at the end, make sure everything matches up. Not assuming anybody's cheating, but the more people we have playing, the more accurate our system will be. That's essentially what the blockchain as public ledger is. It's just people keeping track of different transactions.
Different networks in society have different values, and the beauty of blockchain is the programmability. So blockchain brings software to monetary tools, to ledgers, and to databases, and allows us to program truly whatever we can imagine into the governing code of these applications.
In fact, our entire financial system in the modern world is based upon and is in fact only a system of ledgers. Most people don't know this. Money is not something tangible. Money is in fact an entry on a ledger. Economists use the phrase M1 to describe the money supply. Well, M1 includes checking account deposits. They're just entries. And your money is an unsecured obligation. It's debt on a bank's balance sheet. It's an entry on a ledger. And that raises a very important question in the post-financial crisis world. Whose ledger do you trust? Do you trust Lehman's ledger? How about Washington Mutual? They failed in 2008. Do you trust their ledger? Wachovia, did you trust their ledger? They were sold because they went bankrupt. Banks fail. They've historically failed. They fail regularly. Do you really trust their ledgers?
Modern financial accounting is based on a double-entry system. Described simply, double-entry bookkeeping allows for firms to maintain records that reflect what the firm owns and owes, and also what the firm has earned and spent over any given period of time. The idea is that you want to minimize the errors in your bookkeeping, so that for each transaction you do, you enter 2 entries into your book. The issue with double entry accounting is that there is not really any connection between the different sets of books each firm holds. The records are themselves separate. So if Bob wants to cheat a bit, he can say that maybe his transaction was only 8 tokens and he doesn't have to pay as much taxes. Likewise, as the organizational structure and sophistication of companies developed, they were expected to share their records with outside stakeholders, such as investors, lenders, and the state. This created the problem of how outsiders could trust the company's books and thus required auditors. Although you did your double entry accounting in your book, there was absolutely no guarantee that the bank or whoever else you were dealing with saw the transaction the same way and recorded the same numbers. In fact, as part of an audit, one would have to write to the bank and ask, did this organization really have this money at this date, and do you agree on this number? So what we now see is that a massive amount of administration could be removed if we had an economy-wide accounting system.
It's not an app, it's not a company. I think it's closest in description to something like Wikipedia. We can see everything on Wikipedia. It's a composite view that's constantly changing and being updated. We can also track those changes over time on Wikipedia, and we can create our own wikis because at their core, they're just a data infrastructure. On Wikipedia, it's an open platform that stores words and images and the changes to that data over time. On the blockchain, you can think of it as an open infrastructure that stores many kinds of assets. It stores the history of custodianship, ownership, and location for assets like the digital currency Bitcoin, other digital assets like a title of ownership of IP. It could be a certificate, a contract, real-world objects, even personal identifiable information.
A very good place to start is a piece of thought leadership that we put out a few months ago called the Professional Accountant's Guide to Distributed Ledgers and Blockchain. It really explains blockchain from the perspective of the profession, and it talks about how it could impact considerations relevant to the profession, such as how it affects audit, how it might affect the business model of audit firms and professional practices. So that could be one place to start.
You can think of it like this. Imagine taking a unicycle to work every day. It can be done, but you would much rather upgrade to that nice and fast car to go to work. This framework is similar. An ERP system can hold data, but that data takes much more effort on behalf of an auditor to work to verify. Blockchain technology can revolutionize how companies aggregate their data autonomously, making an auditor's job more efficient. Part of that auditor's job is testing the data for existence and completeness. And this can be done by sampling the data and verifying that sample, by sending letters to customers to confirm their balances, among other methods of accounting research. Blockchain technology has the ability to shift an auditor's role from utilizing a reactive approach to a proactive methodology. Rather than spending time verifying transactions because they don't currently have a way to tie all of their financial data to verified transactions, an auditor would discuss management judgments before it is even written into a smart contract code. I envision a future where all companies can click to create financial statements in real time with integrity. I envision a future where the line between tech and finance is blurred, where auditors are not just accountants, but analytical innovators. And I see a future where specialized professions, such as accounting, can rise up through the use of blockchain technology. Thank you.